It began with whispers in London. The air was thick with defeat in France. June 1940, German forces had crushed the French armies, Paris was on the brink, and the government under Marshal Pétain was preparing for armistice. Many believed the war for France was over. But one man refused to accept that darkness. One general, far from home, raised his voice even when everyone else was bent under the shadow. The voice that would not be silenced. On the 18th of June 1940, Charles de Gaulle, from London via BBC broadcasts, issued a challenge. France has lost a battle, but France has not lost the war. He called on officers, soldiers, citizens to join him. To resist. To believe. No titles, no armies, no guarantee, just an appeal. That moment would become legendary. What followed was not glorious victory upon arrival but a struggle, inside and out, to turn defeat into hope. De Gaulle's journey into exile began when France fell. He escaped to England, refusing the surrender that many believed was inevitable. In London, he organized the Free French Forces, a ragtag collection of soldiers, colonial troops, volunteers, exiles, anyone willing to defy Vichy France and Nazi occupation. He knew that legitimacy was fragile. He had to persuade both French people and the Allies that he truly represented the France that would resist. He also started a government in exile. First, the French National Committee. Then, as more of the French colonies defected from Vichy control, the French Committee of National Liberation CFL in Algiers in 1943. It was a fragile structure, balancing the demands of politics, resistance movements inside France, colonial administrators abroad, and the Allied powers. De Gaulle pressed for unity among the French resistance inside the country. He sent Jean Moulin to organize different resistance movements under a single structure. During this phase, there was tension with other French leaders, and with the Allies. Roosevelt and Churchill both respected and distrusted him in different moments. He pressed constantly to ensure that, when France was liberated, it would be French hands that governed, not foreign military governments or puppet administrations. One symbolic moment, the first Bayeux speech, June 1944. Just days after D-Day, de Gaulle insisted on making his way to Bayeux, among the first liberated towns, to speak to the people. He declared Bayeux to be the capital of Free France, appointed his commissioners, and insisted that French administration should return power to French hands immediately. It was as much psychological, symbolic, political, reminding people that France must govern itself. Fast forward, August 1944. As Allied forces push in after Normandy, the resistance inside France rises. Paris is liberated. De Gaulle returns walking down the streets of a city that had been crushed, now reborn out of the ruins. He enters the Hôtel de Ville in Paris. He gives his famous declaration, Paris. Paris outraged. Paris broken. Paris martyred. But Paris liberated, the words carry hope. They carry authority. They mark the moment that Free France becomes the France of the future. Immediately, de Gaulle leads a provisional government of the French Republic. The challenge is immense. The country is shattered, infrastructure destroyed, industry in ruins, political institutions weakened, many lives lost, collaborators to be dealt with, division in politics. The resistance had many factions: communists, socialists, conservatives. De Gaulle must work with them. His priority: restore republican institutions, law, order. Bring back democracy, rebuild. But also restore France's international stature. The world order is being redrawn. France cannot be left behind. One important act was the suppression of Vichy's laws, especially those discriminatory anti-Jewish laws, forced labor, etc. Restoring rights, restoring justice. Making sure those who were persecuted got back what was robbed. Re-establishing legal continuity with the old republic, but also reforming what had broken. Another was dealing with the colonies. During the wartime period, many colonies switched allegiance from Vichy to Free France. In 1944, de Gaulle convened the Brazzaville Conference in French Equatorial Africa. It laid down steps to reform colonial administration, enforce labor, remove legal restrictions that discriminated, create elected assemblies in the colonies, give representation in the French National Assembly. Not yet full self-rule or independence, but steps toward justice and inclusion. As the war ends, the provisional government has to decide, how will political power work now? How much power for the president, for parliament, for parties? De Gaulle had strong ideas. He believed France needed a strong executive to avoid the paralysis of dozens of parties pulling in different directions. But in the provisional legislature, many disagreed. Some wanted more power in parliament, more decentralized control. Others worried about authoritarian drift. In early 1946, de Gaulle's differences with the Constituent Assembly on how the future constitution should be shaped became irreconcilable. He resigns in January 1946. He walks away, disillusioned, believing that the Fourth Republic's structure is flawed. The Fourth Republic is born later in 1946. It restores democratic institutions, parliamentary systems, multiple parties. But de Gaulle stays in the wings, still influential in public discourse, still criticizing what he sees as weakness: frequent changes of government, unstable coalitions, lack of national unity. Meanwhile, France rebuilds physically: roads, railways, industry, housing, socially, welfare systems, education, economically, currency reform, dealing with war debts, re-establishing trade. There is less Trente Glorieuses, though those high-growth decades would really kick in after. The hardship is real: rationing, shortages, labor strikes. Politically, dividing lines: left versus right, colonial wars, communism versus anti-communism. The Fourth Republic, built to safeguard democracy, proved weak in crisis, especially over the issue of Algeria. French Algeria was not just a colony. Many in France saw it as part of metropolitan France. Conflict there became a national crisis. Governments collapsed. The state seemed unable to make firm decisions. In 1958, under threat of civil war, de Gaulle was called back. He negotiates a new constitution, the Fifth Republic. Strong presidency, more stable executive, ability to act in crisis. De Gaulle becomes president in 1958, implementing reforms both inside and outside. Economically, France modernizes: public works, industry, introduction of new technologies, foreign policy, decolonization. He finally grants independence to Algeria in 1962 after a bitter conflict. Internationally, de Gaulle pursues a policy of national grandeur, an independent nuclear deterrent, non-alignment to superpower blocs, asserting France's voice in Europe and the world. He serves until 1969, when, after unrest, student protests, labor turmoil, social changes, he puts reforms to referendum and loses. Then he resigns. But by then, the foundations he helped set are firm. France is rebuilt, politically, economically, morally. At each stage, de Gaulle faced dangers: exile, betrayal, divided resistance, the Allies' suspicion, collaborators, internal politics, colonial unrest. At every turn the question loomed: will France be truly free? Will it be democratic? Will it survive as more than just a wreck of war? What about French identity, citizenship, the people in the colonies, the memory of Vichy? One vivid moment, when Allied forces preferred to deal with local French authorities rather than recognize de Gaulle's committee. Or when, after D-Day, Eisenhower wanted the liberation of France to be conducted under Allied military government, de Gaulle pushed back. If he had failed there, if the Allies had installed their own administration, Free France might have become a secondary player. The voice he struck in Bayeux, insisting on French sovereignty over liberated territory, was small in action but huge in meaning. Another tension was colonial reform. De Gaulle believed French colonies must be reformed, but full decolonization would come later and often after painful conflicts. He had to balance pressure from colonial subjects, international opinion, and French settlers' opponents. The Brazzaville Conference was an early attempt, but critics say it was also partly propaganda to preserve the empire. Still, he made moves. Not perfect, not without criticism. Then, in the Fourth Republic, came the question, power versus democracy. How to prevent authoritarian relapse. De Gaulle's insistence on a strong executive was seen by some as a danger, by others as essential. When he resigned, it was partially because the political structure would not accept what he believed was necessary for stability. Finally, in 1958, the gamble. Take back power in a moment of crisis. It could have gone wrong. But he managed to do so with enough legitimacy, with enough support, to rebuild France not just physically, but structurally. The Fifth Republic survived, the decision's constitutional, foreign policy had long-term consequences. So what's the moral of de Gaulle's story? What can we learn, even now? Leadership in exile matters. Defeat does not mean the end if someone is willing to speak, organize, inspire. The spirit of resistance, even when all seems lost, can shape the future. Legitimacy and symbolism are powerful. De Gaulle didn't just fight battles, he used speeches, ceremonies, presence. The Bayeux speech, walking into Paris, for many Frenchmen, those were proof that France was still France. Strong institutions matter, but they need stability. De Gaulle believed with good reason that a government that changes constantly, with weak leadership, cannot face great crises. So constitutional choice, structure of power, clarity of executive responsibilities are not just legal details, they shape how a society endures. Balancing justice, reform, and realpolitik is difficult. De Gaulle had to dismantle unjust laws, restore rights, but also handle colonial upheavals, military resistance, international pressures. Progress often comes in stages, sometimes imperfect, sometimes controversial, but pushing forward matters. Rebuilding isn't just about bricks. After the war, France needed roads, houses, factories, but also needed to rebuild trust, identity, a sense of national unity. De Gaulle understood both material and symbolic rebuilding. So, what do you think? Was de Gaulle a hero, a pragmatist, a visionary, or all at once? Were his choices always right? Where did he fall short? Comment your thoughts below. If you like stories like this, share this video so others can learn, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into moments that shaped our world. Because understanding the past helps us know what kind of future we want. Charles de Gaulle's role in Free France and post-war rebuilding shows that even when a country seems broken, leadership of courage, vision, and resolve can light the way. The real story isn't just about generals or governments, it's about people choosing not to give up. That flame, once lit, can endure beyond siege, beyond war. May we all find that flame when we need it.